Hello there, my friend. Thank you so much for inviting me into your home. I'm Pastor Laverne Tucker. Welcome to our home. Now today we have some new guests with us. So happy that Pastor and Mrs. Ken Berry can be with us here in our home.
We're glad to be here with you in your home.
Thank you, Pastor Tucker.
Now, Pastor Ken, Marian, you have been missionaries in Africa and pastoring many churches throughout the United States.
Yes.
They tell me that you decided to go on retirement. You don't look that old.
Oh, I'm that old, all right. Yes, we decided to go on retirement because we have something else we wanted to do for the Lord.
What was that?
Present this program, the Song of Songs.
Oh, it is beautiful. I just saw it, and I told your wife, Marian, I said, I must have that on videotape. And I know that our friends will want to have video cassettes, copies of these. Tell us, how did you get started with this drama of the Song of Solomon or the Song of Psalms? You know, I've read that and I thought, my, that's a pretty love story. But as I saw it depicted by you folks, it was entirely different. How did you get started on it?
Well, it's like this. We were missionaries in Africa, and we were having morning worship, and decided that we would read the Bible out loud together. And we got over into the Song of Solomon, and she asked me some questions.
What were those questions, dear?
Well, I asked my husband, what is the meaning of this book? And he said...
Well, you told me. It didn't make sense.
Well, it didn't seem to make sense when I first read the book, and I wondered why it was in the Bible. Many people wonder why that book is in the Bible. But he told me to look in the commentaries. But the more commentaries I looked in, the more different ideas I found. They didn't agree with each other. So finally it seemed to me that the only thing left to do was to do like we should do, and that was to make a cross-reference study. So we went to Nairobi and to other places, first looking for information, but the best way was to simply trace every part of it as it made reference to other parts of the Bible, trace these words in the original Hebrew.
Oh, did you study Hebrew then?
No, I didn't study Hebrew, but I used an analytical concordance to make sure that I was getting the right understanding of each one of these words. And that took a long time. It took over 4 months. 6 hours a day of careful research.
You really became a research expert then, didn't you?
Well, I wouldn't know that it was expert, but I tried to do a very thorough work. And I found some very wonderful things about this book.
What was that?
In the first place, this book is coded. It is coded in symbolic language. And the same bride that you find in Revelation, and where it says the Spirit and the bride say, come, that's the same bride that is in the wedding song of the Song of Solomon. And Jesus referred to himself in the 4 Gospels as the bridegroom. And he is the bridegroom in this book. There's a beautiful commentary. It's called Christ's Object Lessons, and there it says that in the Song of Songs we hear Christ speaking to his people, to his bride, his church, and that she answers him there. And taking this cue, I discovered that as the bride makes these various statements, verse after verse, in sequence, in the Song of Solomon, that she is giving various references to happenings in her experience or her life. And so if she is the church, then these different happenings make up the history of the church. And so I found that the history of the church, as given in the Song of Solomon, agrees completely with the book of Revelation, in the time periods of Revelation, and even of Daniel. And so then we discovered that it mentions the wonderful themes of the atonement and justification, sanctification, the church in her wilderness experience, and the Great Reformation, the Advent movement, the Great Disappointment, even the Great Disappointment of 1844. And then it ends on a most thrilling concept that the church now, in this very time in which we live, is just waiting for the final climactic ending of Earth's history, where she will be sealed and reflect the image of Jesus fully.
Beautiful.
And so then, of course, the next thing is the coming of the bridegroom.
How many years have you put in researching all this out now?
Well, I began in 1948, and it took me about 4 years to do the research work, and a little extra time to get it all together, because there were 500 pages of legal-size paper, single-spaced, of references from the research. And then I had the book into the seminary, where they sent it over to the book editors. But the problem was that the brethren were busy, and I looked in the writings of good counsel, and I found that they said there that if the brethren didn't see light in it, we should lay it aside. So I just laid it aside for 15 years. And then finally, one of the Bible teachers said to me, you should try to put this into pictures. And so in trying to make pictures, I had quite a time, because you see, I couldn't make overhead transparencies that looked good enough. So finally my husband built a stage, and I dressed many, many dolls. And these dolls were as characters in the historical scenes of the book. So that's what makes up our video program.
Very fine. Well, thank you, Ken, and thank you, Marian. I believe it's time now for us to go to the drama of the Song of Songs.